Good evening, race fans, and welcome to race number 20 here with the MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. We are here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the legendary 2.5-mile oval. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today. 1080p, 60 frames a second. I hope you all are ready for what's in store as the drivers have made their way onto the racetrack into their starting positions for the race here today. Colby Babber, the number 10 car, starting off in first place on the inside of row 1. Jeffrey Meyer on the outside in the 50 car. Douglas Bell, the inside of row 2 in the 11 machine. Evan Longacre on the outside of row 2 in the 95 car. David Santini, the 79 machine, in 5th place. Kenny Meadows in 6th place. Billy Fitzgerald taking 7th. John Binder in 8th place. Barry Stevens in 9th. Chad Gunningsman in 10th. Jeff Hooper in 11th, Robert Cook in 12th place as we move ourselves down the starting grid. Julio Villalobos in 13th, James Duke in 14th, Scott Steffens in 15th, Brent Wall in 16th, Ryan Strunk in 17th, Chris Noble in 18th, Chris Hansen in 19th, Kyle Mollering in 20th, Greg Newsom in 21st. Drivers making their way around the racetrack here with the pace car in tow. So as we get ourselves ready for the start of the 98 laps that we will see here at Indianapolis with a 30-lap stage break. We saw some quite interesting action last week at Pocono. Let's see what these drivers have here at the rounded rectangle. All right, pace car making its way down into pit lane. Colby Babber, Jeffrey Meyer up in the front of the field. Let's see where things are going to go for the first lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The green flag drops. We are off to racing. Heading into turn 1. Everyone looking calm, steady, side by side, just taking things nice and smooth as we come out of turn 1 into turn 2. Colby Babber getting himself a nice bit of distance between himself and second place at this moment. A few drivers looking like they're going 3 wide in some spots there for just a moment. It looks like that has dissipated, though, here as we work our way down the long straightaway. Heading to turn 3. Single file for the most part now as we head our way through 3, the short straight into 4. 98 laps here at Indianapolis. The first few, well, majority of the laps here, especially going into that first stage break that we will see here at lap 30. Drivers are going to want to be taking things relatively smooth and calm. A couple drivers back here duking it out side by side. Meanwhile, while the front of the field taking things relatively single file for the most part. Lap 2 of 98, everything calm and steady here for the opening laps here at Indianapolis. Looks like someone might have caught the wall there just a little bit coming out of 2. I believe that might have been the 53 of Chris Noble. It doesn't look like it affected him too much. He might have got slowed down there just a little bit, but definitely saw that car kind of nudge itself a little bit, it seemed like. Back up front, we've got a mover in the field, David Santini. The 79 machine currently up into 3rd place as he moved himself around Kenny Meadows there in the 96 car. Kenny, I think, dropping back to 4th place here, but Kenny's also moving himself up this grid here slowly but surely. David Santini obviously sitting in the top 3 now at this point in time. But look at Colby Babber, Douglas Bell, both of these drivers. They're just kind of getting into their own little groove here, and they're moving away from this field rather quickly. We'll see if that continues to hold some water for these 2 drivers and give them a little bit of an advantage over the field here. But again, that stage break right at lap 30, it's going to stack the field right back up here again. And then it's going to be a shootout for another 58 laps. "68 laps. Excuse my math. I'm not the best with numbers sometimes. But so far, for the opening laps here at Indianapolis, I am honestly not too shocked, but I am surprised that we've seen these drivers all just simultaneously, right off the rip. I mean, everyone just dropping into those single file lines, just getting into those drives. And look at the 77 right now. He is just locked bumpers with the 45. That almost could have got a little dicey there between Julio Villalobos and Ryan Strunk, the 77 machine. Ryan able to get himself ahead of Julio down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3 now. Riding on board currently with Julio Villalobos here in the 45 machine, just to get a little bit of an idea of what it's like to take a lap here around Indy. Oh man, in a cup car, and that was quite the slide there. Indianapolis, one of those track years. Oh man, this is one of the reasons why I love Indianapolis so much, and I'm sure a lot of fans can agree with me on this one. Is that it's just very unique to see how aggressive you can really drive this track and how quickly that can all spin on top of itself in a matter of seconds. We just witnessed Julio there get a little bit dicey going into, I believe that was turn 3. Just getting a little bit loose. But here at Indy, I mean, you have to drive fast. You have to drive it extremely quickly through the turns. Fast in, fast out, as with any other track would be, obviously. But here at Indy, I mean, it almost drives kind of like a super speedway. Not exactly. These turns, you definitely do have to slow down. You have to get on those brakes and make sure that you don't ram yourself into the wall. But with how long the straightaways are, you build up an extreme amount of momentum. In these turns, the banking is just enough to allow you to carry that, but you have to be cautious. Here, as we've had moves happening up here towards the front of the field, Douglas Bell, David Santini pushing their way up into first and second place. Colby Babber pushed back to third now. The 11 car now taking the lead. Taking a look a little bit further back, it looked like someone made a move here. I'm not sure who that was that dipped down to the bottom of the track. It might be Jeff Opper that we're locked on with currently, the 19 machine. Or rather, showing as 19 in timing and scoring, but appears to be the number 23 on his paint scheme. So excuse me if I get that number mixed up here and there. quite the little battle that we have happening here. A three-piece with Brent Wall, the 6 machine, right on the tail end here, trying to get in between someone here. Down on the inside of Chad Gooningsman. Able to come out of turn 2. Almost. There it is now. Had to be a little patient there. You got to wait until they actually come out of the turn before you make that assumption. Otherwise, things can, well, not always go as planned. So a few drivers around the field. We've got small packs forming around the racetrack right now. And if you take a look at the race, the track map down to the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can see the different sort of packs starting to form around the track here at this point in time. You can see the 11 car Douglas Bell leading the field here at this moment, and you can barely see the spacing starting to form between these drivers. But to kind of amplify that here a little bit, let's take a look at the Blimp Camera here at Indy Motor Speedway and see exactly kind of what we're talking about here. As we pan around the racetrack, you'll start to see the different, well, the different lines, not necessarily lines, but the different groups that we have here at Indy at this point in the race. It's only lap 10 of 98 here, so still a lot of racing left to be had here. But as we're looking at it, we're locked on currently with Julio Villalobos, the 45 machine. As I was hoping to get a little bit of a better pan here. Let's see if we can scroll over just a little bit. Evan Longacre that we're now tagged on with, the 95 machine, currently in 6th place. This is kind of a really good example here of how much distance is separating some of these packs here at this point in time. Now, right now, the most separation that we're seeing is between Scott Steffens, and Chris Noble with them almost 3.5 seconds, just over 3.25 seconds at this time. So that's the farthest that anyone is from another driver here at this point. So everyone is doing a pretty decent job at keeping themselves relatively close to one another. And again, the stage break will allow drivers to get themselves stacked back up for another opportunity here. So you also have to be thinking to yourself, there could obviously be some strategies being played out here in this early stage of this race. We can't always assume that everyone is going to be saving everything, or, well, giving it all they got here right in the opening laps of the race. That's almost entirely always a bad idea. Battle between Scott Steffens and Chris Noble here for the 16th place spot as they come across the yard of bricks here. A lot of the other battles here starting to not necessarily fizzle out, but they are getting into their own rhythm here. They're getting themselves settled out for what will be a long race here at Indy. Let's actually take a moment here to ride on board with the David Santini, the 79 driver, and let's take a listen here and just take a lap around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. excellent driving here from David Santini. You can hear the screeching of the tires as they slide their way out of 4 and 2. Really just through these turns in general. Here as David's gonna, well, he's gonna stick his nose down there on the inside of Douglas Bell, but it's not quite gonna be enough this time around. But I'm sure as the laps tick away, we're halfway until the stage break here for lap 30. And again, today's race is brought to you by Rapid Fired Pizza, as well as Old School Ninjas. Big shout out, big thank you to the sponsors that put on and sponsor these leagues, these series. It's always a great thing to have these sponsors come on board and support the racing community, whether it's sim or real. It's always a great thing to support all of these leagues and these racers and what they do. Here we've got a 3-car, well, almost 4-car, you could almost think of it here. We've got Robert Cook. I believe that's Robert Cook back there. That is not Robert Cook. That's Barry Stevens, the 78 driver. So between John Binder, Evan Longacre, Billy Fitzgerald, and Barry Stevens here, kind of forming a 4-car long string of drivers here. Oh, a little bit of a tap there from the 95 Evan Longacre as he came out of turn 3 there. Douglas Bell is starting to see a little bit of pressure here from the 79 driver, David Santini. David almost right up on the bumper of the 11 car here, giving him, well, I almost wouldn't say he's giving him a run for his money. He's just kind of putting pressure on him there. He's really trying to find an opportunity to get down onto the inside here as well, and almost might even just be waiting for a mistake to be made by Douglas here, not to be able to make that pass down onto the inside. Making a pass around the outside here at Indy, not really something you see incredibly often, but it can happen under certain circumstances. Checking back in with some of our other drivers here throughout the field. We've got Billy Fitzgerald trying to make some moves up here in the midfield. Down the back straightaway, heading into turn 2. He's down on the inside of Barry Stevens, the 78 machine, and he successfully pushes his way back up into 8th place, where he started at the beginning of the race here today. So John Binder definitely trying to recover some pace here and then some. Now has to work his way up to Billy Fitzgerald, the 22 driver. Evan Longacre just ahead of them here at this point, and John Binder taking no time at all to try and work his way up here to Billy Fitzgerald, but Billy, meanwhile, he's right there on the tail end of Evan Longacre, trying to build up some momentum and possibly make a pass here, but again, with only 11 laps left before we see that stage break come out here, drivers getting themselves racked and stacked here once again. You'd almost be, I don't know, I think as a driver, you could just be patient here at this point. You really don't have to work your way. I mean, if the opportunity is there, obviously take it, but if you're outright, you know, dead set on trying to get up into whatever position it is that you're currently locked on, with, you know, again, 68 laps after the stage break. I would say there's still plenty of time to be able to make that pass here, especially knowing that there's a predetermined yellow flag to bring the field in, bring the field back and line them back up again. The front of the field has been a little bit of a different story between Douglas Bell and David Santini. These two drivers have continued to duke it out here for that first place spot, as we see David still trying to get down onto the inside of the 11 car, not quite able to do so this time around as they work their way down the front straightaway, heading across the yard of bricks at this time. Colby Babber, who initially was leading this race and was doing quite a phenomenal job at that here as well in the number 10 car, back in 5th place at this moment. Not exactly out of the picture quite yet. He's still up here in the top 5, and really, with that respect, still in the top 10. And as we get closer and closer to that stage break, I don't think that Colby Babber is going to have much of an issue here, working his way back up to the front of the field, whether that's the top 3 or even the lead itself. You can also see just behind them Evan Longacre, Billy Fitzgerald, John Binder, all kind of looming as they continue to work their way just kind of bumper to bumper through these turns, just building up that momentum, keeping that speed moving. Because really that's the best way around this track, especially in these cars, is to get into that draft, get these cars really as fast as they possibly can. We're seeing top speeds of about 197, 198 miles an hour at this point in time, so nearly 200 miles an hour that we're seeing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, with drivers slowing all the way down to about 150 going into these turns. So again, these guys are still going incredibly fast around this racetrack. Chris Hansen, the 20 driver here in 17th. He's made his pass around Chris Noble here just a second ago. As we get closer to that stage break here, it seems like a lot of the drivers that have kind of been sitting in these drafts have now decided that now is the time they want to move themselves up a position or two or more. But with these 23 laps that we have taken green here thus far, this is going to give us a really good idea of what it's going to be like once we get into our next stint here at Indy. And I gotta say, this is going to be quite interesting to see how this develops. We've got a lot of strong drivers up here in the top 5, in the top 10 as well. But once you kind of get separated from the rest of the pack and you get into your own little groove, it's very tough to close in on any drivers ahead of you unless you're doing exactly like Evan Longacre, Billy Fitzgerald are doing currently. And just following each other around, just building up the momentum. Billy Fitzgerald, though, he's saying, I think that's enough of that. I'm going to move my way down onto the inside as they come down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3. Evan Longacre up on top as they work their way out of 3, heading towards turn 4. Longacre no choice but to fall back into 7th place here, but that's going to allow John Binder here to now stack up behind the 95 driver, the 33 car. Going to try and possibly build up the same momentum that we just saw Billy Fitzgerald do. Meanwhile, up front, it is a side-by-side battle for the lead. Little bit of a bump and bang there, possibly. Down the back straightaway, they are wheel to wheel That's going to give the inside line advantage to David Santini as they go through turn 3. The 79 driver now going to be leading this race. And for how long remains to be seen, as there's only 5 laps left before we take that yellow flag for the stage break here at lap 30. John Binder, Evan Longacre still kind of bumper to bumper here. Looking at Julio Villalobos, Greg Newsom, they're both bumper to bumper here. Lap 26 of 98. Just taking a look at the field, seeing where everyone is kind of stacked up here at this point in time. Looking back at the track map, you can see exactly what's kind of unfolded here for these drivers as these laps have progressed on. Chad Gooningsman, the 9 driver, currently with Scott Steffens, the 55 machine, just behind him. Scott Steffens, he sees the opportunity down on the inside as they work their way in and out of turn 2. Steffens, very smooth move there. And frankly, that's what a lot of these drivers are doing. They're just building up that speed behind the driver, to the driver behind them. Or ahead of them, rather. And once they get down that back straightaway, you make the move down to the inside, slingshot your way around. Only 1 lap left here before we take the stage break. David Santini, he's been able to work his way up a 2-second gap from the rest of the field here, and currently is setting some of the fastest lap times at this point in the race here, even on 30-lap-old tires. Still awaiting for the yellow flag to drop here. I believe it'll go back, it'll go down the next, once we cross the line here. But meanwhile, Barry Stevens, Evan Longacre and John Binder both side by side as they come across the yard of bricks into turn 1. And there it is, the yellow flag is out. So as the drivers get themselves stacked back up and ready to go for yet another race here, well, another stint here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You could almost kind of think of it like another race in of itself. But what's interesting to note, well, actually, right as I was about to say that, I had a feeling that was coming. I wasn't sure if they were going to do it or not, but indeed they are. 30 laps is a long time to go here on a set of tires at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so indeed the drivers are going to come down into pit road, get themselves a fresh set of tires, and get themselves ready for the next stint here today at Indy Motor Speedway. David Santini, very, very good exit here out of pit road. The 11 machine, Douglas Bell as well, getting out just ahead of Kenny Meadows. So that's going to kind of rearrange the front of the field here just by a little bit. Jeffrey Meyer into 4th. Colby Babber still in that 5th place spot. Not exactly the worst possible spot that Colby could start back in here. Still in the top 5, and for that regard, the top 10. Albeit, again, that's probably not where he wants to be, seeing that he led the majority of the race here at the beginning. For about, I believe, 15 laps or so. Might have been a couple laps off there, but either way. As our drivers get themselves stacked back up and ready to go for the next start here at at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Douglas Bell, David Santini in your front row, Kenny Meadows, Jeffrey Meyer in the second row, Colby Babber, Billy Fitzgerald in your third row. Lights are off on the pace car as we make our way down the back straightaway, heading to turn 3 once we come out of 4. Pace car will make its dive back down into pit lane, and we will be back to green flag racing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pace car is in. Green flag is in hand by the marshal. And away we go. David Santini taking no time at all. Moving himself away from the rest of the pack here. Meanwhile, the rest of the field, everyone trying to move and groove their way up to spots if they can. A few drivers going side by side here as they come out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Two wide, 3 deep here in the midfield. 78 of Barry Stevens, the leader of this pack here at the moment. Ooh, someone getting into the wall there just a little bit. Currently locked on with Kyle Mollering. Excuse me. Checking back in with the front of the field here for just a moment. Everyone's sticking to that single file line that we saw at the beginning of the race when we opened up with the first green flag. Lap 37 of 98. Not a whole lot of drivers trying to make any real risky moves here at this point in time. Kyle Mollering in the 85. action brewing up towards the front of the field here between Douglas Bell, David Santini, as they're duking it out side by side here. We've also got Kenny Meadows, who came out of pit road in third. Great timing for the 96 machine, and he looks like he's going to be making a move down onto the inside here, possibly. Not quite. No, that's not quite what he was going to be able to do there this time around, but either way, the 96 car still moving his way up through this field rather impressively, I might add. Meadows down onto the inside of David Santini as they work their way through turn 2 out onto the back straightaway here. They're still side by side. Kenny Meadows, he might be able to have the line advantage here as they work their way down the back straightaway. Douglas Bell dropping down to the bottom of the racetrack. Do I assume break up some of that air behind him to prevent anyone to build up that draft that they need? So everyone here doing an incredible job of keeping this race green right now. Staying single file, keeping themselves up here in the front of the field at this moment. Let's go ahead and take a ride on board with Kenny Meadows here. Or Billy Fitzgerald, excuse me, in the 22 machine. You can see the drivers ahead of Billy here trying to break up the air behind them. But Billy Fitzgerald there, that was great driving from the 22 machine. David Santini, meanwhile, still trying to get himself up here ahead of Douglas Bell in the 11 car. Kenny Meadows, who was also attempting to get himself up there into some of the action there for the battle for the lead. Now having to try and regain some of that pace there. About a half a second separating second and third place, and when you're when you're stuck in your lonesome like that, and you have drivers ahead of you that are racing in a pack with each other, it's almost always impossible to catch up. Currently looking at Jeffrey Maya right now, just seeing how these drivers are kind of planning the rest of this race at this moment. And right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of drivers on reserve. A little bit. I'm seeing a lot of drivers trying to save tires. They're not necessarily pushing as aggressively as they maybe want to. Here as we're just about to the halfway mark in tonight's race. So still a lot of laps left to turn here before we really start to see, well, maybe not even then. We've got quite some racing happening here towards the mid-pack. The 77 driver, Ryan Strunk, currently in that 18th place spot here, duking it out with Chris Hansen in the 20 machine, the Toyota Supra. Chris Hansen here, he's not taking any time at all to move his way up here to 16th. Currently has Julio Villalobos ahead of him at this point in time. Oh, a little bit sideways there between two drivers, and they both corrected. Wow. You don't see that every day. Both the 77 and the 53 getting a little loose there. You can see both of these drivers starting to dirt track their way through some of these turns. But doing a phenomenal job of keeping it together here, nonetheless. Greg Newsom, James Duke, they were side by side here for just a moment. Oh man, look at these two. They're both just getting wicked loose here. Absolutely pushing each other to the bleeding edge. Let's ride on board here for just a moment from the helmet camera of Chris Noble. Look at that. Oh, man. You can even see Ryan Strunk ahead of him getting a wicked loose here. And what's interesting to note here is that these two drivers both on the same set of tires from lap 32. Man, look at these drivers. And you can see Chris trying to do everything in his power to keep this car going. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh man, barely holding on. Barely holding on. There's contact between the 76, James Duke, Chris Noble. Both of these drivers getting involved in an incident here on the front straightaway just outside of pit road. And it looks like Chris Noble, a little bit of difficulty getting it restarted here, but able to get it spun back around, and I don't think he's going to come straight into pit road. He's not even going to try and keep that car on the racetrack here. But it does not appear that there is going to be a yellow flag for that incident, despite having two cars involved in that one. Maybe it was because they were off of the racetrack itself, and more so on the pit road entry. So as we're lap 51 of 98 here at this moment, back to some of the, well, basically the racing that we saw here before we took that stage break. And now that the field has got themselves kind of where they're pretty settled at this point in time. You can see on the track map as well just where all of the field is at this point in time, and there's still quite a healthy group of drivers on the front straightaway right now, but this is a massive track. Again, it's a 2.5-mile oval, so it's a lot. It's deceiving to the eye. This graphic is definitely makes things seem a lot closer than they appear. Looks like James Duke, the 76 driver, he's going to make his way down here into pit lane. Not exactly certain what for. I can't imagine. Oh, he's got a little bit of damage to the rear end. It might be affecting the way that that car is handling at this point in time. Douglas Bell, meanwhile, he's caught up to a little bit of lap traffic here. I believe that's the 45. No, that's the 51. Or the 53, rather, of Chris Noble. So already the leaders starting to get around the lap traffic here, or at least starting to catch up to lap traffic here. As Chris Noble was one of the drivers that involved in that incident just a little bit ago, but again, no caution coming out from that one, able to stay green here throughout this race. Quite the stack of drivers that we have forming here. Billy Fitzgerald, the 22 driver, trying to catch up to Colby Bamber. Colby having moved up to 4th place now. Again, after leading quite a few laps here at the beginning of the race, Colby Bamber fallen back quite a few positions. Not 100% certain what exactly for, but still holding on to a top 5 finish here at this moment, and hopefully for the number 10 car, a top 3. If he can work his way around Kenny Meadows in the 96 Rolex machine. Chad Goonigsman, Robert Cook, they're both bumper to bumper here as they come through turns 2. Or turn 2, not turns 2. Brent Wall, Barry Stevens, they're both side by side here for just a moment. Quickly dissipates as Barry Stevens onto the inside through turn 1 on the short straight to 2. But Brent Wall is not giving up quite that easily as he's going to now stick his nose down onto the inside, coming out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. But Barry's not going to let that one happen, getting out in front of Brent Wall, preventing him from trying to get any more momentum built up here. Chad Gunningsman just made his way in and now out of pit road. Some of these drivers coming down into the pits now that it's about lap 60. Last time these drivers came in was lap 32 for the stage break, so I would imagine here in about 4 laps or so, we'll start to see more of those drivers doing the same thing here once again. For the leaders, this is where strategy is going to play a critical part in tonight's race, especially with how long the green flag run here has been at Indy. This is going to be one of those races where you have to keep, you got to keep your head on your toes here, your head on a swivel here. David Santini, though, the 79 driver, he's actually going to take this time to come down into the pits, lap 59 here of 98. Not exactly an undercut strategy here, but for David Santini, that might give him an advantage once the rest of the field starts to come down into the pits. Jeffrey Meyer also deciding to make his way down into pit lane here. Lap 60 of the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. You can see Brent Wall, Robert Cook also making their way down through pit road here. Laps left to go, and only really a good chunk of this field still has yet to come down through pit lane. Essentially the top 10 actually all still have yet now to come down through pit road. Obviously David Santini, one of those drivers who was up there in the top 10, having made his way out of pit road now. He is going to be on a little bit of an undercut strategy. You could kind of think of it that way. As now, once the rest of the field here decides to make their way down into the pits, Chris Hansen, one of those drivers, going to do so now as he works his way down. Sitting in that 9th place spot, I mean, a lot of these drivers who coming down this early on are going to find them in a pretty advantageous spot. And looking at things just a little bit further, the 50 machine of Jeffrey Meyer might be the driver out on top of all of this, as currently he came in lap 59. The next driver behind him, Chad Gunningsman, lap 56. Brett Wall, lap 59 as well. Robert Cook, the same. So we can already start to see this lead, well, really the lead start to change here just from pit strategy alone. And that's why it plays such a critical role here in a race such as this one at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Billy Fitzgerald making his way now down through pit lane, as well as John Binder. The whole field here is also extremely well spread out. If you look at the tower, you can see the difference in timing between all of our drivers at this point in time to the leader. It's not exactly the best representation here, and if you look at the track map, that might give you a little bit of a better idea, but the separation between drivers on the track right now is about as high as it's going to get, I would have to say, at this point in time. And now that drivers are making their way down through pit road to get a fresh set of tires and fill up on fuel, you can even see Colby Babber doing the same here in the number 10 car coming down through pit road. Evan Longacre, a little bit of a lockup as he comes across the commitment line. So right now for Jeffrey Meyer, things are looking in favor of the 50 car. As he's working his way down onto the inside of Julio Villalobos, and you can see the difference that those fresher tires are making for Jeffrey Meyer here, as he just made that pass look extremely easy. Julio Villalobos, again, one of the drivers still on the same set of tires from lap 32, so now going to be on 32-lap old tires as we're on lap 64 at this point in time. But look at this, the top four working their way down into the pits here. Douglas Bell, Kenny Meadows, Barry Stevens, Scott Steffens, all coming down into the pits here. And once Jeffrey Meyer makes that pass around pit road, and it won't be much longer as he's working his way through four and out onto the front straightaway. That's going to put Jeffrey Meyer in first place. Julio Villalobos, well, if he decides to stay out, he is. Wow, okay, so he's going to stay out another lap here. That's going to push him up into second place. Or maybe not. Wow. So it is going to come neck and neck between these two, but I think for Julio, I don't think he's got the tires to be able to even come close, rather, to the pace of Douglas Bell here on lap 65 of 98. There he goes, the 45 machine making his dive down into pit lane. But look at this battle that we have coming across the yard of bricks right now. Billy Fitzgerald all the way down onto the inside. John Binder in the mix here as we work our way through turn one. Colby Babber as well, the 10 machine involved in this one. Stuck on the outside line here. Not exactly the worst place to be in a situation where there's 5 drivers involved. Billy Fitzgerald, meanwhile, the 22, he's able to get away from this pack down the back straightaway, able to build up about almost 3/4 of a second between himself and this pack forming behind him. John Binder, Brent Wall, they're going to take it bumper to bumper here as they work their way through turns 2 onto the short straight to turn 3 into turn 4. Lap 67 of 98. Currently looking with Kenny Meadows, Colby Babber, and Brent Wall. Let's go ahead and ride on board here with Kenny Meadows. Brent Wall stuck up on the outside of Colby Babber, and Kenny Meadows looks like he's trying to take it 3 wide here between these drivers. As they come down the back straightaway heading into turn 3, he's going to stick it down onto the inside, not quite going to be able to make it work this time, as Colby's going to have the advantage here with the speed and momentum that he had carrying into 3 through the short straight to turn 4. Kenny Meadows, though, definitely noticed what he's been doing here at Indy, as he was up in that 3rd place spot, 2nd place even, for quite some time, and trying to push his way up into the lead potentially. But again, Indy is a tough track to maintain a consistent pace with the driver ahead of you. John Binder now able to work his way up into 3rd ahead of Billy Fitzgerald, who was sitting in that 3rd place spot just a moment ago. As Douglas Bell crosses the yard of bricks, it brings us lap 70 of 98 here. Colby Babber right hot on the heels of Billy Fitzgerald here, trying to move his way up into that top 3 spot. He's only got to get his way around John Binder here, the 33 driver. Here as we're riding along with the rear view camera of John Binder in that 33 machine, making our way down the front straightaway. Great views from the rear view of John Binder's 33 machine. Meadows here, almost looking to try and take things 3 wide there, it seems like. Making a move into turn 1, trying to stack up to the rear end of John Binder here as they come through 1 onto the short straight, heading into turn 2. Colby Babber, meanwhile, finally able to crack his way into the top 3 here, in 3rd place now. .26 laps left to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and while that might not seem like a lot here, 2.5 miles that we still have to complete every single lap, and it takes just about a minute to complete that said lap. So the drivers still have quite a bit of time behind the seat lap before, or behind the wheel, before they actually see that checkered flag fly, and we decide a winner here for the race today at Indy Motor Speedway. .25 laps left to go. Jeff Hooper here looks to be coming down into pit road. Not 100% certain what for here exactly. Might just be filling up on fuel. But with 23 laps left to go, everyone at this point in the race is extremely spread out. And looking at the track map as well, you really don't, it doesn't really give you a whole picture of how far these drivers really are spread out between one another. Some drivers spread out only a few seconds apart. Some drivers spread out a half a minute apart. watching along here with John Binder as he tries to work his way up to the rear of Colby Babber, and Colby trying to track down Kenny Meadows here. Let's go ahead for a moment and ride on board with Billy Fitzgerald, and let's listen to the sights and sounds here with 21 laps left to go here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals, also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. Great driving there from Billy Fitzgerald. Looking at Chad Gooningsman right now, oh man, we're starting to see it again. Some of these drivers getting just a little bit loose out the rear end as they're sliding their way through these turns. Taking a look from the Blimp Camera just to see how far some of these drivers have started to see themselves separated here. So at this point in the race, Douglas Bell, he's been almost practically untouchable with 18 laps left to go here. It has been tough going, I'd have to say, for these drivers to try and build up any sort of momentum or pace and maintain that consistently lap after lap. It's a tough thing to do. It's not always easy. And especially, you know, once you're at this tail end of the race here, you've gone green flag for so long, it almost can seem impossible at times. "17 laps left to go here. 16 as Douglas Bell crosses the yard of bricks. Billy Fitzgerald currently the closest driver to any of his competitors at this moment. With John Binder, the 33 machine, currently sitting in 5th place. It's technically a battle for 5th, even though Billy right now still has about just over 0.3 of a second before he's up to the rear end of that 33 machine and able to make any sort of pass here, if at all. Laps left to go here at this moment, just ticking away laps at this point in time. And I mean, especially even for the top 3 at this point, it's all just a matter of staying consistent, staying clean. And for Douglas Bell, that's probably not going to be too difficult here for him, as he's nearly 8.5 seconds away from that 2nd place driver, Jeffrey Meyer, at this point in time. So definitely has been doing all the right things here to keep himself in the lead, and with 14 to go, it's only just a matter of time. Fitzgerald here trying to make a move here on the inside of John Binder, the 33 machine, pushing him up to the outside as they come out of turn 4 and out onto the front straightaway. They're nearly neck and neck here, but it looks like John Binder is just able to stay out far enough ahead. But once we come into turn 1 here, that won't last long, and Billy Fitzgerald, oh man, a little bit of a slide there. That's going to cost him dearly. Evan Longacre, the 95 machine, trying to take advantage of that mistake here, almost taking things 3 wide between these drivers. Fitzgerald going to get shuffled to the back of this group here. Evan Longacre down to the inside of John Binder. He's going to try and make a move here. Binder with the inside, or Longacre with the inside line advantage. That's going to be enough to be able to push his way up here into 5th place. Laps left to go here in this race, and we're watching with Billy Fitzgerald, John Binder, Evan Longacre as they come down the back straightaway heading into turn 3. Currently, this is the most heated battle that we have on the track right now. Fitzgerald on the inside of John Binder as we come through turn 4 out onto the front straightaway. Fitzgerald trying to keep things calm and steady here. Evan Longacre, meanwhile, he's been able to work his way up to about a second gap between himself and John Binder, so really on the move here with only 10 laps left to go. Coming down the back straight. Barry Stevens as well getting up. Oh, he gets into the rear end of the 22 of Billy Fitzgerald. That sends him careening into the top wall on the outside of turn 3. That's going to bring out our first caution here of the race with only 9 laps left to go. Now, technically, there was only 90 laps for the start of this race here, but because of this caution here, the race has been extended. And therefore, we will get this field racked and stacked here once again and ready to go for another restart here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So the field here with only 9 laps left to go, they're going to come down into the pits. They're going to grab an extra set of tires. They're going to fill up on fuel and get ready for what will be the final stint of the race here tonight. Let's see how pit stops play out for these drivers and where they end up once we come back out onto the racetrack. See Evan Longacre's pit crew going to work there, getting those cars' tires changed out here. And out of the pits we go. It looks to be Jeffrey Meyer, the 50 machine. He's able to put himself up ahead of the rest of the field here, ahead of Douglas Bell, who was leading this field. It's going to be Jeffrey Meyer up in the front of the field with Douglas Bell in second, Kenny Meadows in third. A couple drivers here awaiting to get the wave around. Appears to be the 23 of Greg Newsom and the 76 of James Duke. So the lights are off on the pace car. We will go back to green flag racing here the next time around. As we come down the back straightaway. Jeffrey Meyer, Douglas Bell in our front row. Kenny Meadows, Colby Babber in our second row. John Binder, Barry Stevens in our third row. So here we go, coming out of turn 4. Pace car is in. Let's see what happens this time around. We go back to green flag racing here. Let's see how this field is going to stack up. We're going to lock on here with David Santini. We go through turn 1, looking at the midfield here. Everyone looking calm and steady here at this point in time. Coming out of 2 onto the back straightaway. Still locked on here with kind of the midfield here. Looking at Chad Gooningsman, the number 9 car. Quite the stack of drivers here working their way through turn 3. Onto the short straight to turn 4, and we've got trouble here. The 53 driver, Scott Steffens, the 55, into David Santini, the 79. Scott Steffens just getting a little bit loose there, coming out of the turn. That's going to be enough to send both of these drivers down into the pits. And with only 5 laps left to go. Well, that's going to bring out another caution here. These drivers are going to get themselves stacked back up behind the pace car and get themselves ready for the next GWC. So Douglas Bell now retaking the lead here with Jeffrey Meyer in second place, Kenny Meadows in third, Colby Babber in fourth, John Binder in fifth. lights go off as we cross the yard of bricks here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway with 3 laps left to go. Once we come across the yard again, I believe there'll only be 2 laps left until we see the end of the race here today. So a 2-lap shootout essentially is what we're going to see here. For Douglas Bell, for Jeffrey Meyer, Kenny Meadows, Colby Babber, it's been a long race here and a tough battle to maintain these top 3 spots in the lead as well, especially for Douglas Bell. Well, actually for Douglas, he was able to keep up there in that lead for quite some time. But here we go, coming out of turn 4. Pace car is back in. We are back to green flag racing here once again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As we cross the yard of bricks, it's 2 laps left to go. Technically, it's a white. Well, not yet, actually. Douglas Bell doing exactly what he needs to do here to get away from the field. We work our way out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. You can see the drivers behind him just buzzing around like bees, trying to find any sort of room around them that they can. Brent Wall down on the inside of Chad Gooningsman. He's going to push his way. Oh, actually, that was John Bender there. Someone getting a little bit heavy on the tires there as well, the brakes. Down the front stretch across the yard of bricks here for the second to last time. The white flag is out. It's the final lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's see what these drivers have in stock. Douglas Bell, he is about a second away from Kenny Meadows here at this point in time. He is looking to secure this win here today at Indy. A couple drivers beating and banging themselves into the wall. It looks like someone there, Barry Stevens, not quite exactly what he wants to see here with the white flag out, but we're still racing. Douglas Bell driving it away here as we come through turn 4 now, out onto the front straightaway. It's all Douglas Bell from here. Kenny Meadows trying to keep himself ahead in that second place spot. Jeffrey Meyer in 3rd place, and the rest of the field a long string of drivers. Oh man, Colby Babber there tried to make a move for 3rd, but not quite able to make it stick. As the rest of the field coming across the yard of bricks to bring us the finale of the race here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. That is going to conclude our coverage here today of the race number 20 of the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed the action that you saw here today, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to the drivers over at MSRA to take care of post-race interviews. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you for the next race at Michigan International Speedway.
So we're going to start out with our 3rd place finisher, Jeffrey Meyer, driving the Nitro Racing number 50 Chevrolet Camaro. Jeffrey, tell me a little bit about your race.
It was up and down.
How was the car in the beginning of the race? Did you have to make any changes to it to wind up on the podium?
I tried to make a couple changes, maybe loosen up center, tighten up exit type deal. Didn't seem to help any. Kind of went closer back to where I started originally, with just a little bit of tightening exit up, and ran as much tape as I could possibly do without bunking down the whole straightaway.
What did you find was that sweet spot on tape?
Well, 74 was kind of the max that I wanted to push, just because of blinking.
So towards the end of the race there, it looked like we were going to potentially run 90 laps caution free. What were you thinking when that caution came out?
Really? Again? But it just, I don't know. It's getting to be a habit for two to go. You know.
Did you think that caution would have maybe given you a chance to get up there and do something for the win, or were you pretty content with where you were running before it?
I was happy with second. I would have taken second all day. I mean, Douglas was definitely faster. He had a good car, and me pitting early gave me the lead on everybody else that I needed. So, you know, everybody was so even. You know, top five were so even. You know, after 20 laps, or you know, more or less the whole run. So if I got a few seconds on them, it would be really tough for them to make it up, and that's the way it ended up, and it would have been perfect. I had a couple second lead, or on third anyway.
Do you think there's anything else you could have done to try and run back up there at the end there to get it to take a win or to finish second?
No, not other than totally spinning Kenny out. I got into him in the 3 and got him sideways, backed off, let him collect it, and then we raced hard again for the rest of it. I knew I was just hoping I could get Doug to take the outside. I had no problems giving him the lead, but I couldn't protect the inside if Doug took the inside, so I pretty much gave up second just because Doug started on the inside.
Well, wrapping up the race here, is there anybody that you want to shout out or you want to say thank you to?
Well, I got to thank you for putting on the league, and Santini and whoever else does it. You guys do a good job. Old School Ninjas, your Rapid Fire Pizza for sponsoring the league. Got to thank myself for a good set. I built it. Too bad we're not at this track in officials. You could actually go out and buy it. But next week you can go buy my set, and it'll be a good one.
Tell the people real quick what site that is so they can go find it.
NitroRacing.com. You can pick up sets for all classes every week.
Well, that is our third place finisher there, Jeffrey, in the number 50 Chevrolet Camaro. So we are going to move on to our second place finisher now. So now we're going to interview Kenny Meadows, finishing in the middle spot on the podium here, the 96 Ford Mustang. Kenny, you got a copy?
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, Kenny, give me a little rundown of the first part of your race there. How was your car? How was the track? What were you thinking when this thing started?
Oh, man, that first stage, that was a blast. I was up there racing with Santini and Doug. Car was real good. Brent Wall did a hell of a job. I had Mark Martin up there on the box, and he was just making some incredible calls. Got us out on the stage. We were out there, and I think came out third place. And and then unfortunately we did get beat during the green flag. But we came out here second. That's where I was shooting for.
What were you thinking there when that yellow flag came out? Like I was telling Jeffrey, it looked like we were about to run 90 laps free and clear, and then all of a sudden, that yellow came out. Were you happy? What were you thinking there?
I was saying words that are not appropriate for this medium, but I really wanted to race to finish. But I was kind of happy because when I was chasing down Jeffrey at the end there, Chris Noble got in the wall and really screwed up my momentum. I thought I was going to have a shot at him, and then after that I had no chance. But caution did bring it back and give me a little bit of a chance. Although that second caution was not good. I did not put enough fuel in, and I was just about on fumes at the end, so got very lucky there.
Well, do you think there's anything you could have done differently, either pit strategy or driving-wise, to maybe come out of here with a win and move up one more spot?
Probably if I would have wrecked Doug Bell early on, that would have done it. No, I mean, really, Doug had the dominating car out there. Even with Mark Martin up there and Brent Wall building the car, there was no chance. No chance we weren't going to beat Doug today. I don't know. We'll see what the post-race inspection finds. They tend to catch things that are covered up by the wrap, so you never know.
No, we're definitely going to be looking out for some Scotch tape, to see if it's on there. Maybe a little Elmer's glue here and there where it's not supposed to be. It's peanut butter and jelly somewhere on the car. Who knows? We'll check it out there. I'm sure we can find something to get him for. Well, with you being the second place finisher tonight, is there anybody that you want to shout out as we wrap up your interview?
Well, Mark Martin for taking special guest seat up there on the box. He did a hell of a job today. Brent Wall building the car. It was a super awesome setup, and rapid fire pizza, and old school ninja, and David Santini, the broadcast team, all the my fellow competitors here. It was a good time, good racing.
Well, that is our second place finisher there, Kenny Meadows, in 96 Rolex Ford Mustang. So now we are going to move on here to our first place finisher. So we are moving on here to the first place finisher. We got Doug Bell on the number 11 Summer's Eve Ford Mustang. Doug, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got.
Tell me a little bit about the beginning of your race. How was the car? What were you thinking about the competition out there?
The beginning of the race started way too conservative on tape, so it was killing my lap times. Santini pretty much had me beat. I noticed him jumping in and out of the draft there, so I was trying to stay in front of him, overheated. But yeah, car was just way too slow on the straights at first, and I was just praying for that stage break.
Did you feel like you had something for him there after the stage break? Did you feel like you made some good adjustments, made some good progress?
Oh, yeah, after I threw the tape on it, yeah, I was just conserving tires a little bit. I wasn't trying to drive away. And, yeah, I was just taking it nice and easy, holding my pace, just staying in front of them, just waiting for the pit stop so I could short fuel and go like hell.
I think David may have, your biggest competition tonight, may have actually got the wall. Did you see that happen to him?
Yeah, I seen it. Well, I didn't see it. Kenny told me about it. Kenny was mine. So, yeah, I seen him. He was about 6/10 back there and looked like he just got a little bit out of the corner a little hard, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see it. Just hurt.
Do you feel like that gave you a little extra breathing room to, just kind of cruise?
Yes. Yeah, that was the plan. I probably should have just gone on the second run a little bit harder, but I was just so worried about the tires burning up.
Well, I've been asking everybody here. It looked like we were going to run 90 laps and no problems, no issues, and that yellow came out. Well, you can probably take a good guess here on what your response is going to be, but what were you thinking when that yellow came out?
pretty violent thoughts. But, you know, I calmed down. I knew the car was fast. I was just thinking I'm going to tape this sumbitch up, put some tire pressure in the left side, and go like hell and see what happens. Especially, I got beat off pit road. Couldn't believe that. But that was props to Jeff there for just taking off like hell. I couldn't believe he beat me off pit road. I guess I was being a bit too conservative.
Now, on that restart there, do you feel like you got a better jump on that first or that second restart? Because it looked like you did pretty well on both of them from my vantage point.
Yeah, the first one, it was just all about staying in front of Kenny. And then I just pretty much setting him up coming off 2 there. I knew I had the car to do it. I just had to be a little bit patient.
I got you. How many wins is this year? Is this 2 or 3 for you?
I believe it's 2 by my own merit and 3 by penalty. But
what does that do for your confidence moving forward, you know, coming in and picking up several wins pretty quick?
Well, luckily, we're very good in New Hampshire. But luckily, basically, this is another version of Pocono, and I had a great Pocono set. So shout out to ESE, set breeder, David Robertson, all them guys for giving me a great base to change and set up. And it was, I kind of knew coming in, if I was fast last week, I was going to be pretty fast this week.
I gotcha. Well, wrapping up your interview here, is there anybody that you want to shout out or give a special thanks to?
Whoops, I kind of jumped the gun on that and already did. I guess thanks to me for testing so well and being so awesome. There's that. And yeah, that's it.
I gotcha. Well, that is our first place finisher there, Doug Bell. So this is Evan Longacre, getting ready to wrap up our broadcast here. I'm going to shout out Rapid Fire Pizza for being the presenting sponsor of the league. Thanks to Old School Ninjas for being the other presenting sponsor of the league. And thanks to David Santini for putting this league on with me. Thank you to everybody for showing up and competing, everybody that comes out and watches our broadcasts. And then thank you to the Goon Squad for putting on our broadcast for us every single week. Those guys do an awesome job. So thank you guys, and we will see you all next week.